Welcome to Cherry Blossom BL Story, where emotions bloom and stories unfold. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's chapter.
We imagine a house that never sleeps, a boy who was never allowed to exist, and a monster who was born the second his mother breathed her last. This isn't just a love story, it's a confession, the kind that ends with one of them already dead inside. Because when you lock something beautiful away long enough, it stops being prey. It becomes a mirror, and the mirror always lies. Welcome to the attic of Maplewood Lane, where the golden sun finally stopped pretending he wasn't the villain. If you're ready for the darkest, most twisted slow burn you'll see all year, drop a like, subscribe, and ring the bell before I drag you into the dark with me. Because once you step in, there is no turning back. I promise you will never look at love the same way again. Chapter 9, The Ring and the Beating the Supermarket. It was quiet on weekday afternoons, only the low hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional squeak of cartwheels. Elias had been sent for groceries, milk, bread, the expensive coffee Kai preferred, a list folded in his pocket like a permission slip. He kept his head down, eyes on the linoleum, speaking only when the cashier asked for payment. No eye contact, no unnecessary words. The rules had become second nature. He was reaching for a carton of eggs when someone said his name. Elias, holy shit, is that you? He froze. The voice was familiar, warm, surprised, carrying the easy confidence of someone who had never learned to shrink. Elias turned slowly. It was Daniel. Daniel from high school, 2 years ahead, captain of the debate team, the kind of guy who always had a smile and a plan. Now he looked even more put together, tailored jacket, wedding band glinting under the lights, a sleek gold watch on his wrist. Behind him in the aisle stood a toddler in the cart seat, clutching a box of cereal like a trophy. Daniel's face split into a genuine grin. Man, it's been forever. You look good, different but good. Elias managed a small, careful nod. Hi, Daniel. Daniel laughed softly. Still quiet, huh? Some things don't change. He glanced at the toddler. This is Mia. Say hi, baby girl. Mia waved a sticky hand. Elias offered a faint smile, nothing more than politeness, then looked away. Daniel didn't seem to notice the distance. Listen, I'm heading out now. You walking? My car's right outside. I can give you a ride if you want. Groceries look heavy. Elias hesitated. The list was almost done. The house was only a 15-minute walk, but Kai had said never leave without permission, and never accept rides. Still, Daniel was an old friend, harmless. Married a father? I okay, Elias said quietly. If it's no trouble, in no trouble at all. Daniel reached for the bags. Come on. They walked out together. Daniel loaded the groceries into the trunk of a silver Tesla. Sleek, silent, the kind of car that whispered money. Elias slid into the passenger seat, buckling in without looking at Daniel. The drive was short. Daniel filled the silence with easy chatter. New job in tech, house in the suburbs, how marriage had changed everything for the better. Elias answered in monosyllables, eyes on his lap. When they pulled into the Maplewood driveway, Elias saw the porch light on. Kai was there leaning against the railing, arms crossed, watching. Daniel parked. Here you go. Good seeing you, man. We should catch up sometime, coffee or something. Elias nodded. Thanks for the ride. He got out, grabbed the bags, and walked up the path without looking back. The Tesla pulled away smoothly, taillights fading down the street. Kai didn't move from the porch until Elias reached the steps. Home early, Kai said, voice low, dangerous. Did I ruin your little date? Elias stopped. It wasn't. Inside. Elias obeyed. He set the bags on the kitchen counter, hands steady despite the sudden tightness in his chest. Kai followed, closing the front door with deliberate softness. Elias started unpacking, milk in the fridge, bread on the shelf, trying to keep moving, to look useful. Kai leaned in the doorway. Who was that? Old friend from high school, Daniel. He offered a ride because the bags were heavy. Kai's eyes narrowed. You accepted. Kai stepped closer. Elias didn't retreat, but his shoulders curved inward. Kai's gaze dropped to Elias's left hand. "Where's your ring?" Elias looked down. His finger was bare. The platinum band, he'd taken it off to wash dishes earlier that morning, left it on the edge of the sink so it wouldn't get scratched or lost in the drain. He'd forgotten to put it back on. I took it off when I was washing up. It's Kai's hand shot out, grabbing Elias's wrist hard enough to make bone grind. "You forgot." Elias swallowed. "I'm sorry. Kai's other hand came up, gripping Elias's jaw, forcing his face up. "And you think that's an excuse? You walk in here, no ring, after riding home with some guy in his fancy fucking car, smiling at him like you used to smile at the grocery clerk." "I didn't smile. You pointed out something interesting earlier." Kai's voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't wear mine either, right?" Elias's eyes widened. "I didn't mean." Kai released his jaw only to slap him. Open palm, sharp, splitting the corner of Elias's lip. Blood bloomed instantly, copper on his tongue. "You don't get to point anything out," Kai snarled. "You don't get to compare. You don't get to exist outside these walls unless I say so." Another slap back, and this time snapping Elias's head to the side. Elias stumbled, catching himself on the counter. Kai didn't give him time to recover. He grabbed Elias by the front of his shirt and slammed him against the cabinets. The impact rattled dishes inside. Elias didn't fight. He never did. He curled inward, arms coming up instinctively to shield his face. Kai's fist drove into his ribs, once, twice, hard enough to knock the air out of him. Elias gasped, doubling over. Kai kicked his legs out from under him. Elias hit the tile hard, curling into a ball on his side. Kai towered over him. "You think you can just take rides, accept help, forget the one thing that marks you as mine?" He kicked again. Boot to the stomach, then the thigh. Elias's body jerked with each impact, skin already blooming dark under the thin shirt, purple spreading like spilled ink across pale ribs, hip, thigh. Kai crouched, grabbed Elias by the hair, yanked his head back. Blood trickled from the split lip, smeared across his chin. "Look at me." Elias's eyes wide, wet, terrified, met Kai's. "You belong to me," Kai said slowly. "The ring, the house, your body, every breath. If I ever see you without it again, if I ever see you near another man again, I won't stop at bruises." He released Elias's hair. Elias's head dropped back to the floor with a soft thud. Kai stood, looked down at the curled, trembling form on the tile, bruises already darkening, blood on the lip, shirt rucked up to show the mottled purple spreading across ribs. "Clean yourself up," Kai said, "and put the fucking ring back on. Then finish unpacking. Dinner at 7. Don't be late." He walked out of the kitchen. Elias lay there for a long minute, curled tight, breathing in shallow, pained hitches, before he pushed himself up on shaking arms. Blood dripped onto the tile. He wiped it with his sleeve, then stood slow, wincing, and limped to the sink. The platinum ring sat where he'd left it, gleaming innocently on the porcelain. He slid it back onto his finger with trembling hands. It fit perfectly. It always had. He washed the blood from his lip, wiped the floor, unpacked the groceries one item at a time. Dinner would be ready at 7, exactly, because some things never changed and some things, bruises, rings, obedience, only got heavier. Chapter 10. The girlfriend's parade 2 days after the beating. Elias still moved like cracked porcelain, careful, measured, every breath testing the fresh bruises that wrapped his ribs like dark ribbons. The split in his lip had scabbed over into a thin red line. He kept it turned away when he spoke, if he spoke at all. The house was quiet in the way only violence leaves behind. Heavy air, faint metallic tang of blood long cleaned, silence that pressed against the ears. Kai came home late that Thursday evening. Elias heard the Porsche growl into the driveway, the engine cut, then 2 sets of footsteps on the porch, Kai's heavy tread, and a lighter, clicking staccato of heels. The front door opened. Laughter spilled in first, bright and female, followed by the low murmur of Kai's voice saying something Elias couldn't catch. They didn't go straight upstairs. Kai steered the woman, tall, blonde curves poured into a red dress that clung like wet paint, into the living room. Elias was in the kitchen, wiping down counters that were already spotless, back to the doorway. He heard them settle onto the leather sectional, the soft creak of cushions, the clink of glasses, ice against crystal. "Oh God, this place is gorgeous," the woman said, voice honeyed and loud enough to carry. "You really live here alone?" "Not alone," Kai answered, casual. "There's help." Elias's cloth stilled on the granite. The woman laughed. "Help, like a housekeeper, something like that." They drank. They talked. Elias stayed in the kitchen, invisible, until Kai's voice cut through. "Elias." Elias appeared in the doorway, eyes on the floor. "Yes, bring another bottle of the Cabernet, and glasses." Elias fetched them without a word. He set the bottle and 2 fresh glasses on the coffee table, then retreated. The woman's gaze followed him, curious, appraising, but he never looked up. They finished the wine, then the laughter turned breathier. Footsteps climbed the stairs. The master bedroom door closed. Elias retreated to his old room at the end of the hall, closed the door almost all the way, slipped on the noise, cancelling headphones. He sat on the edge of the bed with a book he didn't read. It didn't help. The walls were thick, but not thick enough. The headboard, solid mahogany, heavy, slammed against the shared wall in steady, punishing rhythm. Grunts, moans, her voice rising sharp and theatrical. "Yes, fuck harder," Kai's low growls in answer. Skin slapping skin, the bed frame creaking like it might break. Elias sat motionless. The book lay open on his lap, pages untouched. He stared at the wall as though he could see through it. Every sound landed like a small, precise blow, deeper than the bruises on his ribs, cleaner than the split lip. They went for hours. When the noises finally stopped, replaced by soft laughter, murmurs, the rustle of sheets, Elias waited another 30 minutes before he took the headphones off. The house was quiet again. He slipped downstairs in the dark, cleaned the living room glasses, wiped the coffee table, put everything back exactly as it had been. He didn't sleep. Morning came grey and cold. Elias was already up at 5, starting coffee, setting out Kai's preferred breakfast. Black coffee, 2 eggs over easy, toast cut diagonally. He moved slowly, ribs protesting every reach, every bend, footsteps on the stairs. The woman appeared first, bare legs, one of Kai's white dress shirts hanging open to mid-thigh, sleeves rolled to her elbows. Her blonde hair was tousled, lips swollen, eyes bright with satisfaction. Around her neck glittered a diamond necklace Elias had never seen before, 10 stones, each the size of a pea, catching the kitchen light like captured stars. She must have noticed him staring at it. She smiled, slow, triumphant. "Morning," she said, voice still husky from the night. She padded to the coffee maker, poured herself a mug, added cream and sugar without asking if it was okay. "God, I needed this. Your man kept me up all night." Elias said nothing. He plated the eggs, set them on the island where Kai usually ate. She leaned against the counter, sipping, watching him. "You're the help, right? The quiet one." She laughed softly. "Kai mentioned you, said you're efficient." Elias kept his eyes on the toast, buttering it with mechanical precision. She twirled the necklace between her fingers. "He gave me this last night, after round 3, I think, said it was for being such a good girl." She tilted her head. "He takes me to all the best places. Le Bernardin last month, that little villa in Santorini over the summer. Romantic dinners, private jets, the works. Treats me like a real wife, you know." The word landed like a slap Elias didn't flinch from. She kept going, voice light, almost confiding. "He's so intense, possessive, but in the best way, always touching me, always wanting me. I swear, the way he looks at me sometimes like I'm the only thing in the world that matters." She laughed again. "Lucky me." Elias set the plate down. His hands were steady. His face was blank. Kai came down then, sweatpants low on his hips, hair damp from the shower. expression lazy and sated. He slid onto the stool at the island, pulled the plate toward him. The woman crossed to him, draped herself over his back, kissed the side of his neck. "Morning, baby." Kai grunted, already eating. She lingered, fingers tracing his shoulder, necklace sparkling with every movement. "I was just telling your helper how sweet you are to me." Kai glanced up at Elias' brief, unreadable, then back to his food. "Yeah, all those getaways, the jewelry, the way you fuck me like you can't get enough." She nipped his earlobe. "Makes a girl feel special." Kai smirked. "You are." Elias stood across the island, hands clasped behind his back, eyes on the floor. He heard every word, felt every one settle into the hollow place where the last fragile thing inside him had been clinging. The dream of Kai eventually looking at him the way he looked at these women, of softening, of seeing him as more than a burden, a parasite, a thing to mark and own, had been small, faint, almost dead already. This morning it died completely. No dramatic snap, no tears. Just a quiet, final severing. The woman stayed another hour showering in the master bath, borrowing more of Kai's clothes, laughing in the living room while Kai scrolled his phone. Elias cleaned around them, wiped counters, swept floors, vanished when necessary, invisible, silent. When she finally left, Kai walking her to the door, kissing her long and deep on the porch, Elias was already upstairs, stripping the master bed. The sheets smelled of sex and her perfume. He balled them up, carried them to the laundry room, started the wash on hot. He stood there watching the machine fill, water turning pink from a small blood stain on his own lip that had reopened in the night. No anger rose, no grief, just emptiness, clean, absolute. The last dream was gone. What remained was obedience, perfect, mechanical, empty. And the platinum ring on his finger, heavier than ever. Chapter 11. Elias goes cold the morning after the girlfriend left. Something in Elias simply switched off. It wasn't dramatic. No outburst, no tears, no slammed doors. He woke at the usual hour, 4:45, before the first grey light touched the windows, and moved through the house the same way he always had. Silent feet, careful hands, perfect order. But the small, unconscious gestures that had once softened the edges of his presence were gone. No more soft smiles when he set Kai's coffee down exactly at 7, steam curling just right. No more hopeful glances when Kai walked through a room. No flicker of eyes searching for approval, for acknowledgement, for anything at all. No more quiet pleas hidden in the way he lingered a second too long folding Kai's shirts, or the faint hum he used to let slip while dusting the bookshelves, small, unconscious sounds of someone who still believed warmth might one day be returned. Now there was nothing. He scrubbed the kitchen counters with the same ruthless efficiency, but his face stayed, blank eyes distant, almost glassy, like a doll's. He cooked breakfast with mechanical precision. Eggs flipped at the exact second the whites set, toast browned to uniform gold, coffee poured to the same line on the mug every time. No flourish, no care beyond correctness. When he served the plate, he set it down without a word, turned and left the kitchen before Kai could even sit. No good morning, no is it hot enough, no nothing. The house noticed first. The wide oak floors no longer echoed with the faint pad of Elias's bare feet hurrying to fix something before Kai noticed. The air stayed still, no gentle voice murmuring to itself while he ironed, no soft exhale when he finished a task and allowed himself 1 second of quiet satisfaction. The rooms felt larger, colder, as though the walls had pulled back an inch. The lemon, polished smell lingered, but without the undercurrent of lavender hand cream Elias had once used, or the faint trace of the cheap shampoo he bought with his tiny trust fund allowance. Everything was clean. Everything was perfect. Everything was empty. Kai felt it immediately, though he couldn't name it at first. He sat at the island that morning, fork in hand, staring at the plate Elias had left. Eggs over easy, toast diagonal, coffee black, flawless. He ate mechanically, the food tasteless. When he pushed the plate away, Elias was already gone upstairs or in the laundry room or the garden, invisible again. Kai stood, walked to the doorway, looked down the hall, nothing, no shadow moving, no soft footfall, no distant clink of dishes being put away. He went upstairs. Elias was in the master bedroom, changing the sheets, fresh linen stretched tight, corners hospital. Neat, no crease out of place. Elias didn't look up when Kai entered, didn't pause, didn't acknowledge him at all. He simply smoothed the duvet, tucked the edges, and moved to the next task, folding the used sheets into a perfect square for the laundry. Kai watched him, the boy, no, the man now, moved like clockwork, pale hands folding fabric with robotic accuracy. Eyes fixed on the task, pupils dilated but unfocused, no flush on his cheeks, no tremble in his fingers, no trace of the fragility that had once made Kai want to break him and keep him at the same time. Something twisted low in Kai's gut, not anger, not lust, not satisfaction, pain. Sharp, unfamiliar, physical, like a fist closing around his lungs, squeezing once hard. He stepped closer. Elias didn't flinch, didn't look up. Elias. The name came out rougher than intended. Elias finished folding the sheet, set it on the chair, finally lifted his eyes. They were the same sea glass color, but the light behind them had gone out, flat, cold, distant. Yes, voice soft, polite, empty. Kai stared at him, searched for the flicker, the hope, the fear, the quiet hunger that used to live there. Nothing. You're quiet today. I'm always quiet. Kai's jaw tightened, a different quiet. Elias looked away back to the bed, smoothing an invisible wrinkle. I'm doing my job. He turned to leave the room. Kai's hand shot out, grabbed Elias's wrist, not hard, not bruising, just enough to stop him. Elias froze, didn't pull away. Didn't look at the hand on his skin, just waited. Kai felt the pulse under his thumb, steady, slow, unhurried, no racing, no fierce spike. He released him. Elias walked out without another word. Kai stood in the middle of the master bedroom, sheets perfect, air still smelling faintly of the girlfriend's perfume, and felt the absence like a missing limb, phantom pain. The house was too quiet, too clean, too hollow. He went downstairs, poured another coffee. It tasted bitter, burned. Later that afternoon he found Elias in the laundry room, ironing Kai's shirts, the hiss of steam, the precise glide of the iron. Elias's face in profile beautiful still, achingly so, but carved from ice. Kai leaned in the doorway. You're not smiling anymore. Elias didn't pause. I don't need to smile to iron. You used to. Did I? The question wasn't defiant. It was flat, curious, almost like someone asking about a stranger. Kai's chest tightened again. That same sharp, unfamiliar ache. He left without answering. That night Kai lay in the master bed alone. Sheets cool, house silent except for the low hum of the fridge downstairs. No soft footsteps in the hall. No faint light under Elias's door. No gentle sounds drifting up from the kitchen while Elias prepared tomorrow's breakfast. For the first time, the silence hurt, not the silence of control. Not the silence of obedience, the silence of something gone, something Kai had never admitted he noticed, until it vanished. He stared at the ceiling, hand resting on the empty side of the bed, and felt the pain settle deeper, physical, real. Elias had gone cold. And Kai, who had built this cage brick by brick, felt the chill for the first time, like frost creeping under his skin, like loss. Chapter 12. The seduction advice. The house was quiet. That Friday evening, Kai out at some bar downtown with clients. The kind of night that usually stretched until 2 or 3 in the morning. Elias had finished every chore hours earlier, floors gleaming, laundry folded in razor, sharp stacks, tomorrow's breakfast ingredients prepped and portioned in the fridge. The platinum ring sat heavy on his finger as always, a cold weight he no longer noticed until it caught the light. He didn't know why he turned on the television in the living room. He rarely did. The screen had mostly been Kai's domain: sports, action movies, the occasional porn when he thought Elias was already upstairs. but tonight the remote felt heavy in his hand, and he pressed power without thinking. A romance movie was already playing some glossy, predictable thing about a brooding billionaire and a soft-eyed ingenue who melted his ice with nothing more than gentle persistence. Elias sat on the far end of the sectional, knees drawn up, arms wrapped around them. He didn't change the channel. The movie unfolded in soft focus shots, lingering glances across crowded rooms, accidental brushes of fingers that sent visible shivers through both characters, whispered confessions in rain-soaked streets. The heroine wore silk dresses that clung and slipped off shoulders. The hero's hands were always on her, possessive, reverent, hungry. They kissed like the world was ending. They fucked like it was salvation. Elias watched without blinking. His body ached, not the fading bruises on his ribs, not the old scars from beatings long past, but something deeper, older, more primal. A hollow craving for touch that wasn't punishment, for sex that wasn't mechanical ownership, for want that wasn't one-sided cruelty. He felt it low in his belly, hot and insistent, the phantom press of lips on his throat, fingers tracing his spine without bruising, a body moving over his with something other than rage. He shifted on the couch, thighs pressing together, breath shallow. His cock stirred traitorous, unwanted, but he didn't touch himself. He never did. That would be asking for something, and asking had only ever earned silence or pain. The movie ended with a grand declaration under fireworks. The couple kissed as the credits rolled. Elias stared at the black screen long after it went dark. He stayed there until the front door opened hours later. Kai wasn't alone, the same blonde from before, red dress swapped for jeans and a cropped sweater, followed him in, laughing at something he'd said. She carried a small overnight bag slung over her shoulder. Apparently tonight was an encore. Elias rose silently from the couch. He moved to the kitchen, started the coffee maker on autopilot, then retreated to the hallway shadow where he could hear without being seen. They went straight to the living room. Music played low, something bass, heavy, sultry, glasses clinked, laughter turned breathy. Elias waited until the sounds shifted upstairs, door closing, bed creaking before he slipped back downstairs. He cleaned the glasses they'd left on the coffee table, wiped the cushions, straightened the throw blanket, routine, mechanical. Then he heard her footsteps on the stairs again. Alone, she appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in Kai's shirt, legs bare, hair mussed, necklace glinting. She poured herself water from the fridge dispenser, drank deeply, then noticed Elias standing by the sink. She smirked. "Still up, huh? You don't sleep?" Elias didn't answer. He dried a glass that was already dry. She set the water down, leaned against the counter, crossing her arms under her breasts so the shirt rode higher. "You're always so quiet, like a little ghost." She tilted her head. "Does he ever let you out of that shell? Or is that part of the fun for him?" Elias set the glass down. His voice came out soft, almost inaudible. "How did you do it?" She raised an eyebrow. "Do what?" "Seduce him." The words felt foreign on his tongue, raw, exposed. "You make him want you like that." She laughed, short, cruel, delighted. "Oh, honey." She stepped closer, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You really want to know?" Elias didn't move, didn't look away. She circled him slowly, like a cat toying with something small and wounded. Sustained eye contact. Not just a glance, stare like you're starving and he's the only thing on the menu. Hold it until he breaks first. She brushed past him, deliberate, her arm grazing his, soft accidental touches, a hand on his wrist when you laugh, fingers trailing his arm when you pass something. Teasing close tight where it counts, sheer where it shouldn't be. Let him see what he can't have yet. She stopped in front of him, close enough that he could smell her perfume, expensive, musky, the same one that clung to Kai's sheets for days, expensive perfume. Something that lingers on his skin after you leave the room, and jealousy. Her smile sharpened. Let it simmer slow and deadly. Flirt just enough with someone else in front of him. Nothing overt, just a smile, a laugh, a lingering look. Make him feel the threat, he'll snap. He'll have to claim what's his. Elias swallowed, and if he refuses to touch me, her eyes narrowed, amused, then make him angry enough that he has to claim you. She leaned in, breath warm against his ear. He can't stand anyone else looking. Push that button hard enough, and he'll fuck you until you forget your own name just to remind you who you belong to. She pulled back, studying his face, the faint flush creeping up his neck, the way his pupils had blown wide. You're actually thinking about it, aren't you? She laughed again, softer this time. Poor little thing, good luck. She turned and padded back upstairs, hips swaying, leaving the scent of perfume and cruelty behind. Elias stood motionless in the kitchen. The ache in his body had sharpened into something else, something hot, dangerous, almost like purpose. He looked at the platinum ring on his finger, then at the stairs. For the first time in months, something flickered behind his cold, distant eyes. Not hope, not quite, but hunger, quiet, patient, and very, very cold.
That's all for today on Cherry Blossom BL Story. Thank you for watching. What do you think about this chapter? Did you like it, or do you think something unexpected is coming? Comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories.